Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending where you're at, folks. It's your man, all the way George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk, coming to you live on YouTube. Well, folks, it's another week in August. It's going to be kind of dry week. There is a show coming up this weekend, and that is the Texas Pro. It's going to be a while before we have any bodybuilding shows for women. There's going to be some a pro qualifier coming up in the month, and also we have the upcoming Masters Olympia. So anyway, my partner's here is waiting in the corner. He's out riding with the wife and the kids. You got here the man, Big Keith Williams, aka Scuba Steve, aka the Black Hulk Hogan. Hey, Kansas. Anyway, we are here. We're talking about, as you know, the wire's getting close for the Olympia. We only got about, I would say, 2-3 months left before we get to Olympia. And as you know, this year it's been kind of struggling for women's bodybuilding. There are far few shows, as you know. If you saw the schedule, there was supposed to be at least, I would say, 4 shows that was qualification for Olympia for women's bodybuilding. There was supposed to be a show in Texas, but I don't know what happened with that. That got dropped. The Puerto Rico Pro, it got dropped. The Savannah Pro was gone. And then women's bodybuilding got kicked out of the Omaha Pro. So it's kind of a very thin line. Also we know that the Romanian Muscle Fest is for the next year's Olympia, not this year's Olympia. So that leaves a kind of hole for qualification for women's bodybuilding. So my man, my big brother here, we're going to talk about this, and when we'll throw out some names that might be possible could compete. There's a show coming up in Spain, and it's the Europe Championship in Alicante, Spain. It's been around for a good while, and it's one of the few shows overseas that's Olympic qualification for women's bodybuilding. As you know, they just hit Portugal about a month or so ago, and then you have the Masters coming up, and then after that show you have the Muscle Fest, but the Muscle Fest is for next year's Olympia. So me and my big brother, we're going to talk about who's possible going to be doing this show in Spain. Well, I want to give a shout out because I just got a name that already dropped, because I'm going to show y'all real quick. If you go, I'm going to go to my IG a bit, show y'all. And we have here a name that's already dropped. Wait a minute. I thought I had that. Wait a minute. What's going on here? I got a name that's already dropped. I don't know what's going on. But we'll get straightened out in a second, folks. But we're going to throw some names out there that are possibilities. Is one possibility is, since it's overseas, and since she did to Tampa, Julia Furry. You think Julia's going to do that show? Because she lives in Switzerland, and it's a lot closer for her than to come over here and compete like she did at Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, if she's trying to get in, time is of the essence now, and it's like you said, this is the closest show for her to get to, so she should do it, and she should, again, not a lot of girls are going to go over to Spain because, again, we're talking about this, and again, at the end of the day, Micaiah won $2,000 at the Tampa, and I mean, shit, that's probably a plane ticket over there, so, and not including everything else, so it just makes it hard on these girls. And like I said before, it sucks because the girls who have been placing second at these shows, it's a real fine line of who's the winner and who's the loser. And the sad thing is that these girls, if they like the Chicago Pro, Tampa, it was those 2 shows in particular, the classes were tight and close. And the girl who placed second, she could have been, like they say, apples to oranges, could have been a flip of the coin of who wins and who loses. But again, that point system is killing everything, killing the whole vibe, because you have some girls that should be doing Olympia that may not be doing Olympia just because of this whole new win or get in or lose and you go home type of situation, right? I mean, just look at the quality. Even the top 3 girls that we've seen in these shows as this year compared to even last year. Not saying the quality of competition wasn't as good, but these girls this year, and 2 of the girls, one girl took off a year, another girl took off 2 years, and they come in second. The 2 girls who came in second took off a year and 2 years to compete for health reasons and everything else, came back, looked stellar, and still placed second. So are you telling me that these girls are not going to make the Olympia? Is that what's going to happen? Because I don't foresee Nikki and who's the girl who came in second at
Jessica.
Huh?
Jessica Martin.
Jessica. I don't see them getting on a plane and flying over to Spain. No. Texas is this weekend. Are either one of them doing this show? Or I haven't seen it.
Well, the Texas show does not have women's bodybuilding. It has physique.
Oh, that's bad. Yeah, and that's unfortunate. Again, the question that we have to be asking ourselves as fans and as competitors, especially women competitors, one year you have it, the next year you don't. Indy and Texas are 2 shows that had it. Savannah.
Texas didn't have it. Texas was going to plan to have a show in Texas, but they didn't have it. Indy had it, but the guy who was running that show, he just, I don't know. I think it was because the cost of it. He has to pay. He make much money off of it. He did. Because the Texas show, the Texas Pro, that's the one that Sarah Vilgus, he's put up $20,000 for women's bodybuilding, for women's physique, but they never had women's bodybuilding. I saw originally on the list that there was going to be women's bodybuilding in Texas. I wasn't sure it's going to be that show or it was going to be another show altogether. But then all suddenly that disappeared. It was just wiped out of the list.
Well, like a lot of other shows, like the Savannah show, it was. I don't know if it's that same hotel because we didn't go this year and she didn't compete in that show this year. Well, it was a phenomenal event. It was a great venue, and it's in that little old town there, and so in Savannah. It was just nice. Norfolk, they canceled that too, right?
Yeah, because they canceled the year before, the year after they debuted Savannah Pro. And
another Murray show, and again, a great show. I just don't. I don't understand it because these shows are not just women bodybuilding. It's a pro-am. It's not like you don't have the guys, but you have the girls. And so I just don't understand how. They're not making money or what to cut these shows out because it's not. I understand we're very selfishly talking about women's bodybuilding, but it's a platform for the NPC athletes as well. And so them cutting out the show, it's like, what? I don't understand. Maybe they're just putting on the NPC show and going to a smaller venue. And I think the biggest part of this, George, is when you don't have, it's like, I'm going to put on a football game as a pro, but I don't have the NFL backing. Well, it's not going to be as prestigious as the Shield backing. You know what I'm saying? When they had these shows, you had wings of strength, 100% involved in the booths and the show and everything. But now that they're out, because they've gone to the bigger platform with the Olympia and stuff, it just killed what Jake originally came into the sport to do. Is to pump blood back into women's bodybuilding, which he did. But then all of a sudden, it's starting to deflate again, as we talked about last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also it's just a lot of stuff's going on. I know Jake's is moving on to other stuff, but still, women's body still needs support. We got here the Female Bodybuilding channel. I believe it's JB. He was on this afternoon. He just posted a video from excerpt from the Tampa Bay show. He says, "Hey," and he throws the piece out. What I'm going to do is that he did post that video, and I'm going to show for a bit. From the competitors who competed. I think it's the top 6 competitors from that show. So I'm going to try to pull it up real quick. And it's just like I said, it's tough. The numbers are getting so low for these women's shows. I was had a debate. One lady said that, well, physique having less shows. Well, in a way, you still at Omaha. There's still a show in Brazil. they did drop them from that show in the UK because it's going to come up. I think in a few. I think this weekend, a couple weeks, something like that. I think this weekend or next week. I try to remember. But they don't have women's physique on there anymore. They have the other divisions, and because I don't know what's going on, with that. Because remember a while back, they almost didn't have it because of some issues with money and stuff and the promoters and all this other stuff. I mean, it's crazy. We're gonna show the video from here. We'll pull it up here, and there it is. And it is from. We're not gonna play the music. You gotta be careful with music and copyrighting. And these are the top 6 ladies from the Tampa show. All of them are very impressive ladies. Most definitely they have great physiques. Right here, we're gonna pull it up a little bit. We have Shalika given at the end here, Teresa Vasic, Nikki Chartrand, and Michaela Kenya Squarey, and Julia Furry. We're gonna expand the picture a little bit more. And they look all impressive. These ladies put in some time into work to this show.
Like Nikki looks phenomenal. I mean, she looks phenomenal. I mean, gosh, man,
yeah, that's the debate that even though Michaela has conditioning, they talk about, Nikki looked like she should have won it. And the thing was, Julia took 5th of this show, but the lady right here who plays in, I think she's a doctor, I believe. I believe she's a doctor. Her name is Kena Squarey, and I think she took.
Who's the girl? Who's the girl next to not next to McKay, but on the outside? What's the girl's name? That girl.
That's Salika Given.
What the red lipstick?
Oh, you mean Julia Furry?
Yeah, because Tina showed me a picture of her like days before the show, and I think her trainer overshot her target because it's like she did too many cards because she looked, what was that, a week out? She looked crazy. Didn't look like she was on stage. I mean, and that's that whole thing that, Sean Ray, you say, or Dexter, you say too, you can post all the pictures you want on IG before the show, but if you don't bring that shit to the stage, it don't make a difference. And her legs were way harder and drier. If you go to her IG, like I want to say a week out from the show, it was crazy. But again, look at this lineup. So you got 5 good girls in this lineup. And 4 of these girls possibly are not going to be on the Olympia stage. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, but as I said again, there's few opportunities for them here in the States, and with the Rising Phoenix being an invitational show, that puts them out, and then they only.
How many of these girls are in the Rising Phoenix show? Micaiah, is she in the show?
Micaiah's in the show, just Micaiah.
Nikki's in the show.
No, I don't think Nikki's on the list. You can,
Julia.
Andrea, Mela, your wife, Chelsea Dion, Renee Marvin, I think Andrew Yo, Melissa Tyke, and I forgot the other girl's name.
I thought Jessica Martin was in the show.
Who? Jessica who?
No,
Jessica's not in the show. She can get she can get picked up for the show because
Lee Denny.
Yeah, Leah Denny.
Shauna Boswell.
Yeah, with Shada and Sheena. And I think
and LaShawn McKay. And LaShawn Leday.
Yeah, and I think Desaka Dawson and one more girl. She's the girl who just won the Miss International last month. Taylor Araki. She competed here. She made her debut as a pro here at Tampa, and it was it's like I said again. That's why a lot of competitors come here because there's more opportunities for shows, especially for women's bodybuilding. But it's a lot harder for those competitors. Like I remember, was it last year when I think it was last year when with the year before it was I remember Mela, she went to Romania to do the Romanian Muscle Fest. That was a couple years ago. But then she didn't. I think she took third, and that was the year that Nadia Carpesotto won her second qualification in the same year. And then I think Mila went to Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah, and that's where she won her qualification for the 2022 Olympia. And it's a cost of traveling. I know that if it was more. I was talking with a couple Saturday. That's Daphne Holmes, her husband Keith Holmes, and I talked to them. They were thinking about putting an application for the master show, but I said it costs them too much. It takes too much out of the household. And then, like I said, the best thing to do if you're going to go to a show like that, you have to maybe a week or two in advance, because you have to get adjusted to the jet lag and then be in another area. And then, yeah. I remember it was a show. Was it? Yeah, I think it was at the Olympia. The two women from Brazil, when they came in, they wasn't as in condition like they should have been.
Yeah, I did the Nordic Pro in Helsinki, and that was the first time I had actually went over into international trip, and it was just a whole adjustment, And the crazy thing is, I brought all my food, froze it, took it over. I think it was a 12-hour flight or whatever case may be. But it's just you got to get there early, And I think I got there maybe 3 or 4 days before the show, but just your body getting adapted to everything is the hardest thing, And so, and again, it's expensive. Like I said, the great thing about when I did the Nordic Pro that year, the promoter flew us over, put us in a hotel, and it was great. But if you don't have that kind of backing, it gets expensive, Again, we're talking about, and the Nordic Pro was different because it was a show, like, it was cool because you did the prejudging, you didn't go back to the hotel, you waited for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then they started the finals, if that, and then it was right to the finals. So it was crazy, So even like when you pick out your numbers, like they call your name and you pick out a number. They don't like, how they hear is, the number you get is the alphabetical. No, it's like, pick what number you want. You walk up, pick a number, and you keep it moving. But again, international stuff is way different. In my opinion, it's way better. But it's, the problem is it's just expensive to be, it's expensive to go there, so that's the biggest problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if it was more deeper pockets some things had, or they had sponsors to back them, that could help. Now, I'm going to go pull this up on my IG. As you know, I posted it on my IG channel, on my IG account, about this upcoming show. And there's a name on here that she announced she's going to do this show. It's right here. I'm going to pull it up. And that is Chelsea Dion. Chelsea says she said it on here just a couple of days ago. I put this out. I'll be there. And, and I like Chelsea. I got to do a live stream with her, me. It was JB and AJ, Female Body Channel, Asher Hadley, and that's girl? Chelsea. Yeah, that's Chelsea Dion. And Chelsea says she's going to be competing at the show in Spain. And she's one of. She says she's going to compete at the show. And I believe since it's in Europe, there's a possibility you might see someone like, I think Jay Fuchs going to be doing a show in Masters, but I think
I thought she was taking off this year.
Well, she's going to be beating Rising Phoenix.
Well, yeah, but she said she was taking off the year. That's why I was confused.
Well, when she said it on that, when I posted it on my, because I didn't tag her. I didn't tag her. The people I tagged, if you saw that picture I tagged, Melissa Tite, I tagged Julia Foray, I tagged Teresa Vasic, I tagged I think Jessica Martin, and I tagged who else I tagged? So I think I tried Teresa, Jessica, and Anastasia Levanova, who lives in Russia. Who's the Russian girl who took second at the Portugal show. I tagged those 5 women, but Chelsea's the only one who responded to my post. So I'm assuming that
Really?
she yeah, because I know she said at one point she said she's gonna take. I mean, yeah, I heard she was gonna take a year off, but then when I saw her on the list for the Rising Phoenix, I said, I thought she could take a year off. And then she made the comment in my post that she's gonna do that show. I think another girl said she's gonna do a show. Because she told me not to. She told me, and she told me not tell anybody. So I keep a confidence. So I know she said she's doing this show because she said she took some time off last year. She had competed for a couple of years.
She's doing what show?
The show in Spain. This no girl told me that, so I'm not gonna tell who it is. You'll see it when she gets away. Right here we got man, KL the Wanderer. He coming through. He says, "Hey, what up, everybody? Hey, KL." Also, he says, I want to a Chelsea burger. Chelsea, what the? He says, I want to. I mean,
We talked about
okay, yeah, man. He says like this. He says, yeah, the girls love George. Well, it's not about love, KL. It's about respect. Love comes later. I'm like you ever saw that movie with Kirk Douglas called The Vikings? And it was him and Tony Curtis. They're supposed to be brothers.
Yeah.
And he says, "I don't want your love. I'd rather have your hate." but, but it's a classic movie. You got to watch it. But I would say this: if there was a way, like with the when you had the basketball program, I know it wasn't as fruitful for some as it was for others, but it did help the opportunity for competitors who can okay, make a little change, stack your chips, and then I can try to do a show. But it's just it's getting to the wire, and I think like with Tampa, everybody jumped on that show because it was probably the only show that's qualification for the U.S., but they missed other shows.
Well, and here's the thing. I will say this in defense of Wings of Strength. It's simply this. There was a lot of girls, and I don't know their names, who were ambassadors, who came to these booths, who didn't do shit, who didn't interact with the people like they supposed to, didn't help out like they were supposed to. Remember, they gave the girl who got caught up in the whole pedophile thing with her boyfriend, whatever, they gave her 10 grand, remember? And so, when Tina became the ambassador of Wings of Strength, rookie season 4 or 5 years ago, whatever, after when they had that program going forward, they had that program, but when she came into it and got sponsored and they picked her up as the tier 1 athlete, the contract stated this: it's $10,000 they gave her, half you get now, half they get right before. They need to see what you look like before the show, because they were sponsoring girls and girls are coming up the show looking like ass. Let's just be honest. If you're spending $10,000 or $5,000 or even $3,000 to sponsor girls and all this other stuff, and then they come in the show looking like shit, it's you're 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 not losing money, but you're disappointed because these athletes should take pride in sitting there saying, "I'm a sponsored athlete. I got to come in my best shape, represent Wings and Strength the best as possible." And I can tell you on a few occasions that there's some lazy ass girls out there who just take the money and run straight up. So that could be part of it. I'm just speculating, but that could be part of it. But I did see a lot of girls like Tina when she went to these booths, worked her ass off. She's packing boxes with, the girls backstage and doing all. And there are some girls who just didn't want to do shit. They just want to sit there and not even really interact with the fans and all this other stuff. So it's like, come on. Here's the thing: your platform is not that big as it is. We understand bodybuilding in a whole is a niche goddamn sport. It's not for everybody. Not everybody under. It's so many times where I have to say, when somebody says bodybuilder and I say Arnold Schwarzenegger, oh, that's what you do. You know what I'm saying? So if it's that for a guy, how do you think it is for a woman? And on top of that, it's harder for a woman because people look at women who have muscle and they say, oh, that's gross. That's disgusting. So it's this niche thing. So it's like you said, and we've had this conversation on countless occasions. Create a platform for your platform. That makes sense. Create a platform for your sport. Create a platform for yourself and for the sport. But a lot of these girls just don't. You know, they don't get together and says, "What can we do to make the sport better as a whole?" You see that picture backstage of them all together, but that's just false advertising in my opinion, because then they go in they own their merry way, and it's just crazy to me. So I don't know if that could be part of it. And again, at the end of the day, I can tell you, like, for these shows to be canceled, it's a big part of that is not the promoters, but a big part of that, like, is when you have the wings of strength behind you for women's bodybuilding, everybody's like, yeah, let's do it, because wings of strength, Nico, Jake, the whole staff, their productions are amazing. The lights, the lights, the backdrops, everything they do, the gift bags, everything they do was first class. But you have to understand that shit costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money. So when you're now Jake Woods, and I'm not speaking on his behalf, and now you own the Olympia, your spectrum has gotten way bigger than just women's bodybuilding. And so, everybody makes budget cuts. Everybody makes cuts somewhere. And unfortunately, it looks like, the cut came into women's bodybuilding, because if a promoter doesn't go into a show, whether it's Chad, what's the guy who does the Omaha?
I think is it a Jack Tony? Yeah.
If you don't have that wings of strength name behind you and that financial backing, which Jake financially backed all these shows, these promoters can't put on the show. So because they don't have the purse money for the athletes, which is not that much anyway, and everything else that goes wrong with it, there becomes a problem of why these shows are starting to get eliminated.
Yeah, because you know what, I was at Savannah, and the person who we mentioned, I don't speak her name on channel. She was there. Donna was there. Me and Donna, we talked. Actually, Donna came in doing the prejudging. I saw her. I gave a big hug. We talked for a good bit. We even talked, after took a picture together. The other girl, she barely talked to me. One time she really talked to me after I took my picture with Donna. She wanted to take a picture with me, and they have a pretty good thing going, but yes, I know it's about money and all that stuff, but still, if they can get some people to back them up a little bit more and help out with some of the relief of the financial strain, that will help them out too. But we got to hear from man Vinny, and Vinny just says Margie M persuaded Chelsea not to take a year off on a podcast. Oh, shout out to Margie. Thank you, Margie. Also, I originally thought she was going to defend her Tampa title instead of going to Spain. I guess she felt like she wasn't ready for Tampa, so she wanted more time. So that's why she just went ahead and just started saying. Also, man, KL says they love you, man. Whatever. Like I said, I'd rather have their hate than their love.
They should love you, because again, what did I just say earlier? A platform. You give them a bigger platform than they give them damn selves. No offense and all. I mean, let's keep it 100.
Yeah, you got people like Sheila. She got herself she does a podcast. That's good, because that's somebody in the sport doing something.
Yeah.
Like I said, JB.
How many times has she invited girls on her show? How many times has she invited you on her show? I mean, you can have a podcast and you can talk about certain things. Remember, we had the girl who was talking about steroids and how this, that, and other, blah, blah, blah. But if you're not inviting people onto your show to create even better content and to better understand your sport, it's tough.
Yeah, because I used to be cool with Sheena. I mean, I was there when she was at Savannah. She was going through something, and she was, because I think she was really tired and strained. And, I think we talked about this before, how she didn't look as good as she was compared to when she was at Tampa, that she was at Savannah. But, I can expect what she, because I think, I wouldn't mind, jumping on and just giving my thoughts and stuff like that. But you know what? That's up to her.
Well, I think like Sheena, gorgeous girl. Another gorgeous black woman, but just, if Tina can bring her condition like the year before, like last year, it wasn't as good. And I think what started happening to Tina, and this is just my opinion as a judge and as an athlete, is when you start running shows like that back to back, like she did, it starts taking its toll on you. You know, I mean, and so here's a prime example. So my rookie season in IFBB, I did the Tampa Pro. Well, I did the Tampa Pro as a rookie. I said, nobody's in this show, so I'm going to jump in this show. Well, they canceled the Arizona Pro, so everybody jumped into the Tampa Pro. And I was like, shit. And I was like, well, here's the thing. There's a lot of people who are just scared to jump in the water because they're going against the big dogs now. And what I realized doing that is I did that show, then I went right from that show, then I did Texas or Dallas Pro, then I went to Nordic Pro. Here's the problem. Sean Roden, who called me Scuba Steve, who's no longer with us.
Rest in peace to Sean Roden.
And Tony Freeman he beat Tony Freeman at the Tampa Bay Pro. So Tony looked at Sean and says, you won this time, but you better bring it, son, when we go to Dallas. So Chris Aceto looked at Sean was pissed. So Chris Aceto asked Sean after he won the Tampa Pro, he's like, what do you want to do? He goes, I'm staying on my diet because there ain't no fucking way, excuse my language, fans, ain't no fucking way that Tony's going to beat me in Dallas because it was the next weekend. So he stayed on his diet. Not everybody can do that. It takes a certain kind of person that can run diets back-to-back shows. Like Flex and Sean and Kevin and Ronnie and Dorian will tell you our era is a bunch of pussies because these guys would do shows like 8 shows in a year. How many shows do you see these guys doing now? You don't see them doing very many shows. Those guys used to they would compete in the United States, then they would get on a plane and do like 3 or 4 shows in Europe, and then they come back home with their chips stacked up, and then they get ready for the Olympia, and then they're done for the season. But they don't do that. Athletes don't do that no more. They don't, men or women, they don't do what they used to do back in the day.
One person I would point out who was kind of competitive, this was like last year, that was Natalia Cuejo. She did at least, I think, 5 shows last year after she got Olympic qualification in 2021. I know she did a show in Brazil because that's where her family's originally from. She did the New York show. She did Pittsburgh. I think she did after the Olympia, she did the show, the Atlantic Coast show, and I think she also did the Regent Sports Fest. Right? Yeah. I think she was doing like at least 5 shows last year. A lot of ladies were complaining about it because you know what they saying like you all get your Olympic qualification. Why are you getting away? I understand. Some women understood it's about competition, but at the same time, some women didn't like the fact that hey, you all get your Olympic qualification. Why are you staying in my way?
Trying to stack up their paper, especially when the prize money is not that great.
No, yeah.
You know, so, I mean, and the kid from Canada last year who won Tampa not last year, but the year before, Valette, I think his name is. But you know, he did won Tampa, then went to the Dallas show, the Texas show we were talking about, won that. Everybody got mad because they like, well, you're stealing the qualification from somebody else. Well, here's the thing. When you're only making 10 grand and you're trying to stack up your chips because this shit is not cheap, yeah, if I can go and win the next show, I'm going to go win the next show. Like my son said, you know, in baseball, my son who plays for the Yankees and my son who plays in Hawaii, I think when people say something to him, they say simply this: you don't like it, be better than I am. You don't like it, be better.
That's your boy. That's the man's child. That's the man's child. We got to hear from man. We better hear from man's KL Wonder. He says this. He says the women got to stick together if they want the sport to have more recognition.
Amen.
Yes. Also, he says this. He says, Keith, would you look at bodybuilding as a snobbish sport with egos at times? I'm just asking. Like, you know, like I said, yeah, because you know, you got. Yeah, you have to think that. Yeah, you have to come in. I was like, I'm on my shit. I'm the best. You know, like you still have like people like Andrea, who's a decent person, but she's still competitive. And I love Andrea. I think she's amazing. You do have some women who kind of like have that, you know, the nose up the air kind of mentality. You know, but that's just showing that you're just about yourself. But still, if you're still a competitive person and still have a good nature, you know, that's all about.
But like I said, I teach people this, and I learned this a long time ago when I lived in Minnesota. When I first started training with Flex, Flex went to a gym in Minnesota that I didn't train at, and because I came into the gym every day and I wasn't this social person, because I'm still chasing after my pro card, you know, I'm this conceited, egotistical person. No, when I gotta tell people, when I go in the gym, it's my fucking job. When I go in the gym, I'm trying to accomplish something to get to where I need to be in life as far as my competition is concerned. Now, there's a difference of going into a gym, and I call it the resting bitch face, because you see it on a lot of people, like guys and girls. Where Tina is one of them. There was another black girl who she'll be coming up. Her name is Asia, from New York. She just was at the gym. I told her, I said, Asia, beautiful black girl, great shapes. I looked at her, I said, look, Asia, and this is where people understand, and this is a different subject I know we're talking about, but I said, Asia, if I was you, she went into wellness. She's a younger girl. I told her, well, just go into both. And I think we talked about this last week. She went into both. She didn't do both because, again, here's the problem. Like, I have a client who's doing North Americans. George, he's 53 years old. He just won the police games in Canada in physique and classic physique. He's now going to Gary's show for a hotel, just to give people a perspective. And it's not including my stuff he has to pay for. For a hotel, 2 classes, which are $275 a piece, airfare, that was $2,000. So, mind you, think about it this way. Micaiah just won a show that cost her, she made $2,000. Just for this guy to do for 2 classes, hotel, and flight was $2,000. Just to put some perspective on things. You know what I'm saying? And so when the person was asking about the ego thing, I don't necessarily know his ego. I think like Andrea Shaw is, in my opinion, and like somebody like Tina, and I'm not saying because she's my wife, and there's other girls as well, that when you see Andrea, you don't even know she's a champion. You don't know Andrea is the 3-time world champion, 3-time Miss Olympia. You know why? Because she is the most humblest, sweetest person. And yeah, to be the champ, you have to be competitive. But if you remember, George, and I know you remember this, when Margie and Helena was on stage with her in Orlando, and maybe what was it, Orlando? And they were talking shit, and Andrea just standing there. They're like, Helena talking about when we turn from the back and you see my glutes, and Margie talking about this, and Andrea just saying, okay. She just sitting there, okay, I'll let you guys talk, but at the end of the day, that shit don't mean nothing when we get on stage and I beat the brakes off of you, which she did. It don't make a difference. You can take all that shit you want. You can show all the pictures you want, like I said earlier, on IG, your Facebook, and all this other shit. But when you get on stage and you don't look like that, ain't no future when you fronting. You got to bring your shit the day of. So all these people, it's not an ego thing. It's just like even John Smith, her coach. You see this dude, he is the most low key, under the radar. You wouldn't even know that her and Andrea that's her coach, by the way they interact with each other. But you know, it's I heard a quote from somebody, because I was like, so somebody said Andrea Shaw eats an apple pie before she goes on stage. So I asked her, like, is that true? And they're like, no. She maybe after the show. No, she was eating an apple pie. I was backstage watching her eat apple pie before she went on stage, carving up. And guess what? I wish I could eat an apple pie, but she looks crazy, you know? And again, I will revert back to what Steve Weinberger said, and this is not something that I am misquoting. Where Andrea Shaw step on stage is Andrea and everybody else. It's just pretty to look at from head to toe. And so, like I said, Christina Mendoza, so long. I don't know if you go back and look at it, George. Christina Mendoza, if you go back and look at Andrea Shaw's routine and go back and look at Andrea Mendoza's routine at Chicago, you took the video of Andrea and the video of Christina, she stole every move that she possibly had when she presented herself on stage, which is smart. Andrea's not in the show. If you're gonna do stuff, if you want to try to knock out the champ, you're gonna have to do things to beat the champ. Jay Cutler will tell you that. It took him years to beat Ronnie Coleman. Olympia titles before Ronnie Coleman finally lost that 9th one. But you got to chase after something.
Yeah,
And
it's kind of like,
huh?
yeah, kind of like with how long it took, for someone like Kim Zaveski to beat Linda Murray. Linda was so dominant for 6 Olympias until she lost that 7th one to Kim, and then came back and lost the next one. It's just about what they want to see in the criteria.
Well,
And
go ahead.
And like I said, if Andrea has those goods, same like with Jake, it was with Jade when he was up against Ronnie, or when Arnold was up against Sergio Olivier back in the day, or Lee Heaney and Lee Labrada. It's just, if you don't have those tools, people can assume, because I got a lot of guys here saying like, oh, Christina's gonna be Andrea, Natalia's gonna be Andrea, who else they say gonna be Andrea, but those women just are not as complete as even.
Here's the thing that I tell the fan base. Understand this. You can say that, but the champ is resting. The champ is, when I say resting, the champ is not, she did start her prep, 2-3 weeks ago, because I watched her post. She just started her prep 2 or 3 weeks ago. So you guys have all been dieting, getting ready for the Tampa, the Chicago, the New York, the Spain, and all this other shit. This is Andrea. She's just watching. And you don't think, like, here's the thing. It's like a team getting a bye and getting to watch another team who's just barely made into the playoffs and watching everything they do. So you got extra time. She got extra time to study these girls. John has extra time. John is my wife's coach now. And we've had explicit conversations about what they really are looking for in women's bodybuilding. What they're looking for is women's bodybuilding is the representation from of what Andrea Shaw represents. The feminine, yet muscular, the whole package. It's just pretty to look at. It's nothing about Andrea that you can tell me that it's like, and I say this all the time. I've been with one black woman my whole entire life, but Andrea Shaw is that woman, and like Sheena, like I told my wife, I said like Sheena, Boswell, Andrea,
Mela,
if these girls,
Mela,
if these black girls can come in shape, man, let me tell you, because it's like this Asian girl at the gym who just moved back to New York. Blacknetics. They got these blacknetics that some of these other people don't have. Helena is a great competitor, but she has a thick waistline. Michaela has a whole bunch of flaws. That's why if you look at some of these girls, the way they pose, because especially Michaela, and her conditioning is great. But that girl looks like that year round. Is that really bodybuilding? To be honest, I mean, the cross races glutes look crazy. Not taking anything away from her. But would you rather look at Michaela or would you rather look like Andrea? Would you rather look at Nikki or would you rather look at Michaela? Would you rather look at the girl who was second at Tampa or would you look at Michaela? Here's the thing. That's why and let's be honest, when Linda lost, Linda chose not to go, and I'm not speaking for Linda, but I heard this through the grapevine. Linda chose not to do things to make her change who Linda was. So the sport went, they can say all they want about the sport, but let's be honest. When Kim started winning, who I love, because I judge her shows here, and I love her family, I love Kim, I said, but when Kim won, and then when Kim wasn't the champion, then Iris became the champion. That chasing of that conditioning and that chasing of that hardness and everything else, it lost the femininity of it, and it just became like, I remember going to one of my first Olympias and watching Grant Warren almost beating Jay Cutler, and that's when Alina should have beat Iris. When you're looking as a person when you're looking at Iris and Alina on stage, I'm like, man, Alina's just so pretty to look at. She's just pretty. And then I remember watching. This is a true story. Iris came walking around the corner because remember that's when they used to have the prejudging at the expo. I think they still do. And Iris came around and scared the shit out of me because she looked like a skeleton. Seriously, it was like me, Flex, and standing there like, oh shit. I mean, she was just that sucked down. And I remember walking, because this is when it was still at the New Orleans. And I remember walking through the hotel and looking at these bodybuilders and like, oh my God. Oh, like the masculinity of the aspect of it. Not disrespecting their bodies, but just, it's, I guess it's not for me. But I said, like I told Tina, and I told my wife this: if it ever comes down to you having to look like that, we're done. We're fucking done. I'm not waking up to no fucking dude. Hey, she'll tell you, I am not waking up to no dude. Again, here's the thing: I've watched the science behind what John has done with Tina this year, and I've watched how I now understand why Andrea looks the way she does. I understand why she still has the feminine look that she does. It's because of what the science behind what John does with his athletes that impresses me more than anything.
Yeah,
More
right. Yeah,
like
right here.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, right here we got Vinny saying Andrew's definitely the ultimate baby face of women's bodybuilding. And also, my man KL says, yeah, Iris wasn't really too attractive like that. And he says this, he says, I said, I would look at Andrea instead of Michaela, Michaela, how you say it differently. And also, he says this, he says, I'm not going to lie, talking trash among themselves would be interesting to see. Yeah, and that's true about this. But the thing is, like I said again, we go back. Subject is,
oh no, they do. Don't get this shit twisted. I watched Alina Popa and Margie go at it after the show, by the after party. Margie looked at, and it's a true story, and I'll say it because I was there. They were getting into it outside the after party in Arizona because Alina hadn't competed. Now, Alina doesn't compete anymore. And it was the year that Alina won it. And then Alina won one championship and then stepped away and then started working for Wings of Strength. And I remember Margie saying, it was something to the concept of something to the content of, well, if you come in shape, you can beat me. Alina said that to Margie because Margie had a problem with Alina beating her. And Alina just looked at her and says, come in shape. You want to beat me, come in shape.
I think that was a year. I remember that year. That was the year, I think, Sheila Black, Sheila just had surgery right back for her hip.
Yep.
That's when Sheila Black, she decided to really win bodybuilding and go to physique. I'm a big fan of Sheila. She had amazing physique, great lines, great muscle. And, and that's when I think she took second at that show that year. Yep. I think she took second. I think Margie took third. And Helena took fourth that year. And Helena turned around next year. She won the title again after she lost it. But yeah, it's just, a lot of stuff like that. Now, we're talking about who's possibly going to go to this show in Spain. And we're going to break it down to maybe it's going to be competitors that live over there that's close, like Virginia Sanchez, because, that's Spain, that's her backyard. Jay Fuchs is going to be doing the Masters show. Jay, she'll probably, do that show afterwards because she came back last year. She only did one show. The remaining, she didn't look that good. I think she should have done the show, Europe show first before she did the Women's Masters Fest and see how she looked because she had competed for almost 4 years. A lot of the American competitors are not going to go because the fact is that it costs too much to travel all the way. But some of the ladies who I've been talking to who've been invited are going. No, that's I'm thinking the Muscle Fest. I'm thinking the Master Show. Sorry, I'm thinking the Master Show. But I think the thing is, if this show was more lucrative, if bodybuilding was more lucrative for these ladies, where they can make the money and they can travel overseas and do a show like that, that'd be great. I know, like Melissa Tyke, she posted that Melissa Tyke, she's getting ready because she's doing the remaining Muscle Fest in, I think she said in about 6 weeks. And this is her training right here. I don't know. Maybe she should, think about doing the show in Spain too. I mean,
Here's the thing, George. But here's the thing that we're talking about. More than anything, this is what we're talking about. Like you said, if it was more lucrative, girls would go over here. But here's the bigger thing. If you're Nikki or you're Jessica, and you place second, which gives you a lot of points. Placing second used to give you place second would give you a lot of points. So normally you would just go to another show and possibly win it or come in the top, 3, and you're in. Now, if their point system was still in place, don't you think it would be more incentive for Jessica or Nikki, who know that they like to go over there and see their show and place in the top 3 to get their qualification? But now that there's no point system, again, we talked about this in prior podcasts. What's if the money's not there, and if you lose, you're out. Now you're out of Olympia. You're out of money from going over there. So what are we talking about? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's just tough. If I was Nikki or Jessica, and I knew that I needed 2 points or 1 point to get into the Olympics, if they did well at their shows, I would take the trip. But again, it's
No
not
point.
that way. So it makes it hard for me to sit there and say, hey, Dave, can we drop $3,000 for us to go to Spain? At the casino, roll the dice. Hopefully hit the 7-11. If you don't win, you're out of money and you're out of
Snake eyes.
below snake eyes. And if you don't win, you're screwed because you went over there, you traveled, you didn't get, and if you don't win, you're out. And that's it. Because like you said, that's the last time to qualify. And then you do that. And I know a lot of these girls are thinking, there's so many, like, think about this year. So Tina, we were looking for this videographer for Wings at the World Championship. They're not even doing that this year. So we were looking for, like, videographers are like $1,000 to do a 2-minute video for Tina. So when Tina started going through her contract, she sent a message to Jessica and said, hey, do we not do a video this year? And Jessica says, no, we're not doing the videos this year. So there's no prize money for that this year. There's another thing. They used to do, I think it was like $5,000 for the best video. I mean, there was a lot
So it's
of money.
$2,000.
But it was a lot of money that most muscular, best video, best routine. There was so much money that the Wings of Strength were throwing at the World Championships. Well, the videos are cut out now, which thank God, because, I mean, like George, if you've seen some of these lame, whack-ass videos that were winning, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, it's like, we know that you lift weights. No offense and all. I know you fucking lift weights. That's what you're talking about. And I watch people like Tina's video who's a mom, who runs a bar, who this, that, and the other. Real life shit. That's why, if I want to know what it takes, because like John De La Rosa, when he went over to Oxygen Gym in Kuwait, and he said, you know what, Keith, I asked him, I said, how'd you like it? So he goes, man, they gave us cars, we had massage therapists, they made all our food for us. All we do is eat, sleep, and train. I know, because I did it with Flex and Stan, where we spent $85,000 1 year just training to get our pro cards and stayed in the hotel, lived in California for 6 or 7 months. But here's the problem with that. It's not realistic once you go back into the real environment where now you're there, when I'm in California or they're in Kuwait, all you're doing is focusing on training. That's it. But then you go back in the real world, you got the kids, life back, work, everything else. It's like The Biggest Loser. I always tell people, if you're going to do The Biggest Loser show, when they used to have it when it was huge, do it in a real environment. They take these people and they put them in this environment where all they're doing is working out, competing against each other, and they get the best shape of their life, right? But then they don't show them how to adapt to going back into the real world, meaning you're going back to your husband, you're going back to your kids, or et cetera, et cetera. So how to make a balance with that all is what people don't understand. It's having a balance of it all. Some atmospheres are realistic. That's why, I said, if we didn't have kids and this, that, and other, life is different. People want me to fly all over and do this, that, and other. I go, I can't do that anymore. I got kids, I got a family, this, that, and other. I mean, Brandon Curry did it for when he won, 2, 3, what did he win? 2 titles, 2 or 3 titles. But he was in Kuwait the whole time. I'm like, man, it's not tough being away from your kids and your wife and stuff. Again, but at the end of the day, it's business. $300,000 business. And I think he won 2 or 3 of them, so I get it. But again, it's not like that for women. It's not like that. So it sucks because, they're scrounging. They're scrounging. Not unless you got a good significant other with a good job and got money behind you. Supplement companies are not. I think Donna's here doing some stuff. I think Teresa. But how many girls do you actually see representing supplement companies, and making money? Because even in the men's aspect of things, supplement companies aren't paying pro men that much money anymore.
No.
They're going after all these influencers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know most times if you do represent a company, you get like a discount or something. If you give codes and stuff like that, that's what I remember. I posted this on my interview with Daphne and Keith. How I said, well, give me, I posted them talk about their sponsors, and I put in how they get a tip. You get a 10% discount to use their codes, and it used to be back then. I remember I was talking to Nancy Lewis, how when she was competing, she had sponsorship. They took care of everything. She had no problems. But now, like I said, Lies ladies, they have to do like, the OnlyFans. I know Tina wouldn't do it. They do other stuff, like Lisa Cross,
Biceps and all that.
yeah, her biceps. As I call them, the Beat the Meat websites. That's what they are. Come on, we're not just gonna look. I know Angel Yo. She does that content too. I've seen some of her stuff. But if this was like I said again, if bodybuilder can have some really big, sponsors to back it, and these not just the women, but also these men can have people who can want to interested, just not looking for hey, I make comments like how guys like say, hey guys, reach out to these ladies. Don't be like wanting like, hey, no, don't do that stuff. Be like someone say, okay, I have a company, I got a business. I want you to be, I want you to be a spokesperson for it, and put you out front. We give you like, was it maybe $1,000 a month as a stipend? That helps out a little bit, $1,000. And then, or do this like, okay, you want to do a show? Tell me what shows you want to do. We'll pay for your room and board and your travel expenses, and everything else is on you. But we just pay for that part. So we'll set you up a motel. We you pay for your plane ticket, and everything like your food and everything else that's on you. Or like this also, if especially for the women, hey, well, if you need somebody to work at your makeup, we'll send somebody to come to your room. We'll have them work on your makeup, your hair, everything else like that. So you don't have to worry about that. That's another expense we can say. Just those little things that can help out. But yeah, the thing is, like, without the point system now, like last year, the person name I do not speak, she kind of squeezed out, to qualify for the Olympia because she took second at Indy, took second New York. She took that when she got popped. She was supposed to do another show, but when the stuff hit the fan about her situation, she took a step back. But she did pop back, and she did. I think she was going to do Tampa, or she was going to do. No, this I believe this was right about Tampa probably. No, not Tampa. Either I think I'm not sure which one, but I knew when stuff hit the fan. I think it was right before Tampa did, and I think she was planning to do Tampa, maybe Chicago. But then when she hit the fan, she had to dip out for a bit. But she was able to squeeze in enough points to qualify by placing, I think, top 3, top 5 at the show in Spain, and then also the same thing with the show in the Romanian Muscle Fest. I remember we had Tina how she missed out to Tampa by a point. But now a point, one stinking point.
Point. She was third. She was third, and Boswell and Teresa needed to. Boswell needed to beat Teresa. Teresa needed to come in second. Tina's in, but because Teresa won and beat Boswell, Tina was out by 1 point.
Yeah, and then also I was telling her when they were doing Omaha, there was only 2 girls. That was Danielle Willis and the other lady. She said that she was like,
we have a shitty. We I don't know what our luck is with shows with Tina, but she'll do a show and there'll be like a shit ton of people. Then the next year, like you said, there's 2 people. One year, Marge and Andrea and LaDon and a boatload of people at the Omaha. And again, here lies the problem. We talked about this earlier. When Wings and Strains came on board with Jack Tatone and Tim Gardner, the Omaha Pro was on and popping. And then you did Omaha Pro, but then the next year, COVID. So, and Wings of Strength I think they were at the Hilton downtown. The Hilton was the charge, the numbers were astronomical for the venue. So they went back. Now, mind you, remember the hotels weren't fully staffed. So because of COVID, because nobody was staying in hotels. So they worked out a deal with the hotel, the Ramada. I can't remember what hotel it was in Omaha. And so they went back there. It was a good show. It was a lot of people, even though the hotel was understaffed. But then the next year, Wings of Strength pulled out of it with Jack Tatone, and I don't know the reason why they did. And that's when that number dropped. I mean, I remember the one show. Well, actually, Tina did Omaha. The next year was COVID. Then the next year they actually had it at the venue. But the problem is that Jack had to fly a new judge in, because the girls were asking, who's the judge? Flew somebody in. He wasn't a very good judge. There was a lot of bogus shit that was going on, let's just say that, at this show that year in particular. And so I think Wings of Strength is backed out. When you back out of shows, again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier, George. When Wings of Strength is behind these shows, the promoters are like, yeah, flexing on people because they know they got Jake, they know they got their staff, and Wings of Strength staff is phenomenal. Their production is phenomenal. But when you don't have that backing behind you anymore, and you got to do all that shit yourself, you're like, I'm out. That's what I'm sure. Like, a lot of and Wings of Strength is just trying to, with Olympia and all the other stuff, world championships and stuff like that. I'm sure. Like I told Jake, I say, Jake, you know what you need to do? Instead of flying all the staff around, just buy a goddamn plane. Put all your stuff on one of these commercial planes. Buy a commercial plane. You can put all your stuff on the plane. Fly yourself staff around. Because hell, he went to Savannah one year and they banned him from getting back on the plane because he had a mask on his face, because this is still during COVID, where it was battery operated, and because they couldn't figure out what kind of mask it was, they wanted him to take it off. So when he went to get back on the plane in Savannah, he had to have a conversation with somebody because they weren't going to let him back on the plane. I said, Jake, just buy your own plane. You spend all this money on everything else.
He could do like Sarah Vilgus. Every year Sarah Vilgus goes because her husband's a rich man too.
Yeah.
And Sarah Vilgus, she flies a Learjet down to the Olympia. She to Orlando and to Vegas. I mean, Jake could probably get a good commercial deal, a commercial plane. He's rich. He's wealthy. There's rich and there's wealthy. Hammer was rich. He was just one record from being broke. Jake is wealthy. He has that family money that keeps, even though he may not is making as much off of Wings of Strength, he still has good, strong family money. And as I was thinking like this, with these fewer shows, these close calls, I mean, it's going to be, I know there's talk that, as you know, Andrea, Sidney Gillen, and Whitney Jones are going to do a show next year. I hope that works out. Maybe, like I said, Jake, he's promoting more amateur shows. I think he might turn them to pro-ams down the road, if you can turn them, because, you get the money you get a good chunk of change off the amateurs because they paid to compete. So that can bounce back, and I remember the Omaha used to have like men's classic, I believe, back in the day. But then now it's just Wins Physique. It's a good chance that, I don't know if the Tatonis can still keep it up. But
I remember Tina did the Omaha one year. We're sitting there, Tim Gardner, everybody after the show, everybody was winding down the lobby and the area at the bar area. And Jack looks at Tina and says, so how did you do in women's physique? And she looked at him like, what? But Jack's so disconnected, it seemed like a lot of people are disassociating themselves with Jack and what he's got going on. And I don't know for various reasons why. But like I said, if you don't have that brand behind you, if you don't have, that Wings of Strength, especially when it comes to women's bodybuilding, if you don't have that Wings of Strength brand behind you, because like I said, from the bags to Nico, who is the head production guy for Wings of Strength, then you bring in Tamer for the Olympia and all these different people. like, you know, I seen a video watching the kid from England, Samson, and Derek Langford, and Jake's there because he got, you know, they got a whole big production deal in Arizona. You know that, right? They have that big old whole Wings of State production, so they're shooting videos and all this other stuff, content and all this other stuff. I go, this is the shit that you need to be doing with the women. If they're doing it for the men, I've never seen them do it with the women. But getting back to what you said earlier, like when I was an amateur, when I was with Muscular Development, they did exclusive deals with me. Meaning, Muscular Development would say, "Hey, what show are you doing? Oh, you do? I'm doing USA. All right, you're doing USA. We want to buy your exclusive rights to that show. What that means is, I can't interview with anybody. They will send a camera crew out to video my workout. They did a day in life. If you go to my YouTube deal, they did a day in life with me, chiropractor, all travel with me when I went to nationals and followed me around from the day I woke up, all this stuff. But that's your exclusive rights. You can't do anything with anybody else. We'll pay you $10,000 or I think it was $2,000 for my exclusive rights for one show. Which as an amateur, I'm like, cool. I'm an amateur and I'm getting paid. This is what we're talking about they need to do with these girls. Instead of sitting there saying, we're go find some girls. Angia Shaw clearly doesn't need the money, but you're gonna have her, you know, under that realm. But do exclusive rights to these shows. Like, hey, you can pick one show. Like Tina's rookie season, what people don't understand is when she was a tier 1 athlete with Wings and Strength, she was close to qualifying for the Olympia. So Wings and Strength goes, hey, you're this close. Like when she lost by a point, we'll put you up for the next show. We'll put you up for the next show because you're that close. If you want, like Nikki, you don't think Nikki or
Jessica,
if Wings and Strength says, hey, you're close. If this is a point system, I'm saying you're close. We'll pay for you to go over there because we know that you'll get the points that you need or whatever, and we're sponsoring you. That we know you'll get the job done because you're this close. But they don't have that no more. So that's what sucks. So that exclusive deal, I think if they brought that into effect, whatever supplement company or Wings and Strength for that matter, would help these girls out a lot. Because when I was an amateur, that's what Muscular Development, that's all exclusive contract. But I was making money. You know, as an amateur, it was helping me and I was making money. So that's what I did. And that's what they need to, somebody needs to figure out with these girls to do something like that. You know what I'm saying? Because that will help these girls out a lot. But like you said, getting back to the Spain show, that's the problem. You got this wealth of competition out there, but can't get there. And it's not because they can't get there because of COVID or passport reasons. They can't get there because the shit costs a lot of bread, man.
the Nero.
Like Worlds is cool because like Tina goes to Worlds, what, in 6 to 8 weeks or whatever. You know, her contract includes makeup, includes her hair, includes her tan, but that's one show. That's what they used to do. Like, I mean, like Wings and Strength used to cover hotel and flight. Like the girls can pick out, I think, 1 or 2 shows. They do the hotel and the flight. Oh, then she gets paid for a photo shoot. Then you get a per diem. That should start to add up, and it saves us a lot of money. And it's not like we need it, but it helps. That helps any, especially some of these girls actually need it. Need a lot more. But they just can't. It's just if it wasn't such an expensive ass sport to do, and again, like I said, I can talk about this in circles all day long. This point system, and John agreed with me too on this. I think this will be the last year they do this point system, and then they'll go back. I mean, the last year they'll do win and you're in, and then they'll go back to the point systems. And here's the thing you got to understand about the IFBB is just there's so many things that happen in rules when it comes to the NFL, MLB, NBA, that rules that they just change. Owners have meetings and they change them. They say, well, if you kick it in the end zone, they're going to put the ball on the 25-yard line. It's okay if there's X amount of people qualify last year, like let's say men's physique, bikini, women's wellness, figure. In there, last year at the Olympia, I don't know the numbers. Say there was 100 guys look like to me, 100 guys on stage for the men's physique. We need to sit down, meaning Jim Mannion, Steve, Sandy, the powers to be, I call them, and sit there and say, we need to put a cap on this. We need to have, for these shows, because they're the popular and bigger shows, we need to have win or get in or you're done. And the reason why I say that, and they will say, fuck that, keep this unfair. Well, guess what? There's way more shows in men's physique. There are way more shows in women's figure. There are way more shows in women's bikini. There's way more shows now for women's wellness that can qualify them more times than there is in men's bodybuilding. I mean, maybe I will even put classic physique in there for these people to get in. So you got to look at the numbers. You know, everybody has a logistic person to look at the numbers and say, hey, there was 100 guys or 75 guys on stage for the physique. How do we bring this number down? Well, you do what you just did to women's bodybuilding and men's bodybuilding and everything else. You win and you get in. And the only reason why I say it's fair because there's way more shows. If you go and look how many shows there is for all those categories I just mentioned, there are way more shows than women's bodybuilding and even men's bodybuilding for that. Mm-hmm. So doesn't that make it fair?
Because
our audience, talk to us. Is that
because with those shows, those are easy turnabouts. As I was heard, like with bikini and wellness, those are easy turnabouts. Also, same with men's classic and men's physique, those are more attainable looks. They don't take the prep is not as long compared to men's open and 212 guys, but they still get it. You know, it's just about quick turnout. That's why you have so many promoters. They just had a couple of shows. We just had bikini and maybe men's physique. You know, it's just, and also it was said again, people don't like these things women's bodybuilding. That's why it's hard for it to stand alone unless you have something like the Rising Phoenix. You know, most even the women's shows, you know, like they rarely ever have a women's show. Rising Phoenix and I think Tampa is the only shows, and the Vancouver show is the only show we just had it strictly for the ladies. I think the Vancouver show might expand a little more. It might next year because I think last year they just had physique and women's bodybuilding. They picked up wellness this year, and a good chance that this guy Corey, he's a good guy. What I heard about him, what people told me about him, like people like Sherry Piyami, Shay Mashaka, a couple of ladies that did that show. They told me he really stepped up. You know, Tanner Hewitt told me he really stepped up for those women. Like, you know, he make sure they had a way to get back and forth from the airport. Make sure they were checked medically. You know, all this other stuff. I think next year he might try to add maybe figure or bikini. You know, I don't know if he's going to add any men's shows. He might do that later down the road because, you know, people do follow more the men than do the women. But if, like I said again, if this was, like I said, you know, if it was more backing for the women, if like, you know, the big question, I got a bet with somebody about Teresa Vasic, you know, and, you know, I told her, say, I'm waiting until she says she's going to do that show in Spain. If she doesn't do the show, you get your dirty little money. But, you know, I'm like I said, like the other guy often says this, he says, I'm a man of my word. And, you know,
hey, Teresa was supposed to be done after. If you look at her post, she was going to be done after I think what you do Toronto, and she was
Toronto, second Toronto.
And even if you read her post, she says almost there. Here's the thing. I don't know. I forgot who her coach is, but if the question is, can you get drier and harder in the next few weeks to do Spain if that's what she chooses to do? And we're speculating right now if she does that, because Teresa does have she has that pretty face feel. The moves are a little weird, but she has a great physique. And if she can just nail her conditioning, I mean, Teresa's one of those girls. When she did won Chicago, when Tina got bumped out, then she won Norfolk.
She won the indie show because remember that next Chicago show she switched over to physique.
Yes,
and she took 7. And that was if she go do physique, she needed to really drop down a lot more muscle because she has a big back, the big shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, she needed to come a little smaller if she's going to think about. She could take another year or 2 off if she want to think about doing physique and come in a little size. Then she pops up. I remember someone told me that she was going to originally do New York, but she said she cut a prep for Indy and did Indy, and look what she did. She won that show. And I think she was this year's Olympia. She was in the top 10, I believe.
Yep.
I think she was like seventh. You
Yep.
know, if like the thing is, I think now she, I think I don't know if she married her fiance yet. I think she wants to maybe settle down, maybe try to have her kids because she's almost 40. Maybe she might want to try to just let her assistant clean out before she starts, doing that. Or if she wants to, like I said, the show in Spain is only about 3 weeks away. It's like that the week after the Masters Olympia show. I would say if you can, it's been a week since the
Tampa.
since the Tampa. It's gonna be 2 weeks by next week. It shouldn't take too long to come in. But she said she'll use diuretics. That's the thing is.
But here's the thing, though. Again, here's what we're talking about, George. If she goes there, if Nikki goes there, if Jessica goes there, and those are 3 quality competitors, not taking anything less from the rest of the girls that have been on stage with them, but 3 quality competitors, one's gonna win. And I'm not saying none of the 3 may not win compared to who we're talking about that's over there, who's the girl you talked about earlier. Again, it's one of those things. If it's points, I'm going. If I gotta win to get in, I don't know if I'm gonna go because that's a lot of money, and it's no guarantees. It's not even a guarantee if it's a point system, but at least in a point system, hey, well, if I lose this show and I'm second, I got 5 points or 4 points or whatever. Well, it takes 6 points or 8 points for me to get in, and I'm just throwing out numbers here. Okay, I'm gonna go do it. But now if you don't have that, you're throwing darts at a board and just hoping that they call your name and that you're the winner. So it's a big risk for these girls, and I get it. People are like, oh, well, why did they do it? Well, if you want to shell out the $2-3 grand for me to go over to Spain to compete, I'm with it. I'm going. If I got to pull this shit out of my own pocket, and if, like you said, it affects households and people, I don't know. I don't know if I take that chance.
Well, I think one girl probably going to do the show is Anastasia Levinova. She took second at Portugal, and she has a great look to her, very appealing, good muscle. She could possibly do the show and maybe get Olympic qualification. Her husband, he was out of that shit thinking that she's going to be Andrea. I think she has a great look to her.
Oh, is this the one that's talking about beating Andrea?
Yeah, you're her husband. He's
wait. Okay, not to cut you off. What's the last time this girl competed?
She had competed since 2021.
And what? Bodybuilding?
Yeah, bodybuilding. She won Portugal in 20. Yeah, she won Portugal in 2021, but she couldn't compete because there was some issue. She couldn't come to Olympia that year because there was some kind of travel issue. I think something with a visa or something. And then she did compete last year, but she was a Wing Strength ambassador last year. You can ask Tina. She was a Wing Strength ambassador last year, but she didn't do any shows. Those are like about 2 or 3 girls that are Wing Strength ambassadors. And I think, I think that one chick that was with Tina at the booth with Tina Teresa.
Yeah.
And, what's the name? Fairchild. She didn't. I think she was supposed to do Atlanta, but she dropped out for a reason or something. And there was another girl. I think they had Salvia Mate. She was an ambassador, but she didn't do no shows.
And so I am going to come to the strength or the defense of Wings of Strength. You wonder why there's not an ambassador program anymore? Because again, what was the name of the girl who got in trouble with the kid and the boyfriend?
Stephanie, I don't want to speak to me.
Well, you know who I'm talking about.
I know what I'm talking about. I don't. Cancel. I don't.
Here's the thing. You just mentioned 4 girls who were ambassadors who didn't do a show. Then you got that particular person who they gave all the money to, and if I'm Jake, I'm like, is this investment even worth it anymore? Because these girls, it's like, I'm shelling out this money, I'm doing all this shit to put a platform together for you, and yet you don't do a show? What? Then why the hell? Because you got to apply for ambassadorship. They just don't say, hey, you want to be a sponsored athlete? You know, a lot of this ambassadors programs and all this stuff. Here's where supplement companies got smart, George. They went from sponsoring Phil Heath's, the Kai Greens. Kai started his own supplement and all this other stuff. They said, I am going to, with social media as it is now, I am going to sign athletes who are amateurs, who have huge followings, that are influencers to promote my brand. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's a video I want you to go watch with when Aaron Singerman and PJ Brown was still partners. And they said the reason why we do this is because it's more incentive for the athlete to be an ambassador. That's why you got these ambassadorship programs now. And even my supplement company, Tight Nutrition, does it as well. Sitting there saying, hey, let's get these amateur athletes who are going to push our brand harder, because guess what? They're still trying to turn pro. They're still trying to make money to spend, still trying to make money to pay for their training and all the stuff they're trying to accomplish. So let's go after the little straggly ass dog over there that if we feed him, he's gonna be loyal and work his ass off for us. Versus this athlete who's entitled because he already has everything, or she already has everything. Let's go after the ones who don't got shit, because those are the ones who are gonna be hungry.
Yeah,
it's like what if P. Diddy say, you throw me in the forest and I come back in a chinchilla coat?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's like, as long as you stay hungry and you say, you know what, you want to do anything it takes. Like remember in the Avengers movies, when Captain America takes to Iron Man, says anything it takes, and that's what it is. It's about that mentality. If you're willing to put yourself out there and put into work, and you're appreciative of every little opportunity you're given, then people will put their faith behind you and put their money behind you.
But even I've watched it, George, firsthand. The girls that they bring to these damn booths, lazy, not all of them, lazy. It's like they are paying you to sit. I'm a pro athlete, been a pro athlete all my life pretty much. I get paid to sit at a booth and sign pictures and smile and talk to people. Your job ain't that fucking. They ain't making me sell no supplements. I'll talk about them, but they ain't making me sell no supplements. But it's just like you said, and you brought it up earlier. You went to a booth. One girl, hey, George, want to take a picture of her. Other girl turned up her nose, then knew, probably the other girl's like, well, who's that? And she's like, oh, now she wants to take a picture. Here's the thing. As mediocre as, and not no disrespect to women's bodybuilding, as mediocre and flatlined as it is, every single girl should be open to, not creeper dudes, but they should be open to people coming up to them and approaching them like you did, instead of just turn up the nose. Oh, take a picture. How many people come up to me, not like even in public places I am, can I take a picture with you? You know how much grief I would get if I said no? You know how much grief I would get if I wasn't an open, kind dude that I am, to let people come up to me when I'm at a restaurant, my wife having dinner, saying, oh, are you guys play for the football team, this, that, and other? You have to be approachable. And some of these girls, like you said, are not approachable, and they're not helping the cause of the sport whatsoever. And so that's the biggest thing when it comes to what I've seen with the Wings and Strength Ambassador Program, is they put their, I can tell you 120%, because even Tina said on her last video, Wings and Strength are like family to us. And here's the thing. They put their best foot, they put their best foot forward for these women. There had to be some kind of reason besides Jake buying out the whole Olympia that they stopped doing this shit. You know what I'm saying? It had to be a reason. And I watched it firsthand with some girls. They just lazy. They don't want to help pack the goodie bags. They don't want to help unload boxes. They don't want to sit at a booth. They kind of want to just, Wings of Strength paying me to go to Tampa. Wings of Strength paying me to go to Puerto Rico. Wings of Strength is paying me to go here. They looking at it as a vacation. No, it's your fucking job now. If you're an ambassador and you're being picked up by somebody, it's your job. It's your job. It's not going on vacation. It's your job to help create. They're putting money in your pocket to help pay for your training, your coach, whatever, your life, or whatever the case may be. That's what they're doing. But when you get these lazy ass athletes, and I have seen it firsthand, there's a reason why Wings of Strength doesn't do the ambassador program anymore, and it's unfortunate. And It's just like somebody told me I've never qualified for the Olympia, but I was thinking Olympia, when you qualify for Olympia, they pay for everything. They don't. They don't pay for everything.
Yeah.
They pay for something.
Yeah. One thing I was talking with a friend of mine. He told me how, because he lives in Ohio. You know, they had the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic every year.
Yeah.
He told me how he told me he ran to one of the wheelchair guys, and he told him that they didn't even pay for their way out there. And it's the wheelchair guy. You thinking, and this is Arnold. Arnold. I mean,
we talked about this though. These, you know, and I'm trying to be as nice as possible when I. These motherfuckers are greedy, bro. They're fucking greedy. It's like you're already a it's like what you said. There's wealthy and there's rich. You're wealthy, Arnold. You know, you have and the funny thing is, you must be making a lot of money when you decide, well, you know what? Because you're not paying the women a lot of money to compete there any goddamn place. But you must be making a shit ton of money where you cut out women's bodybuilding, women's physique. You know, you cut certain things down in your expo. It's like, you guys just got it like that. If you got it like that, then cool. But again, it's Arnold. It's one of those things where you can't tell. I mean, that's just you know, that's you saying that to me is like me watching and here, you know, and I know this is off subject, and I know I can be long-winded some damn time. I was at the pool with my daughter. The other day, right? So they have these pool breaks where safety breaks, they call them. So you got to get out of the water for 15 minutes. And so this guy came in with the handicap guy, right? And the handicap guy, you know, you could tell he was disabled. He had a caretaker. So everybody's out the pool, and he's bouncing this little green ball to this handicap guy. You could tell the guy, and he's older, is really focused on trying to get this ball. So the lifeguard looks at him and says, "You can't do that." And I look over at him. I said, excuse my language, fans. I said, "What the fuck?" I said, "You and 3 lifeguards with nobody in the pool are flinging a ball across the pool to each other playing, while everybody outside the pool is sitting there watching you play ball." So, you know your little bro. I go up. I say, "I need to speak to a supervisor." "Oh, the supervisor's not here." "Well, you have to have a manager on staff." He comes out. I said, "You know what I just witnessed? Had nothing to do with me." I said, "You know what I just witnessed? It's the most hypocritical bullshit I've just ever seen. Here you got this handicapped guy playing or like trying to look like a hand-eye coordination thing, trying to play with this little ball that you win your kid in the vending machine at main event or someplace. But yet your staff is throwing the ball across to each other while everybody sits there and watches them." I said, that is a double standard and very hypocritical to do some shit like that. That's what we're seeing in this sport right now, is that we have so many self-indulged people worrying about lining their pockets, like Arnold. Why would you take events away? See, remember, the Arnold used to be a sports festival. So they had UFC, cheerleading, strongman, wrestling, boxing.
Pole dancing.
Yeah, pole dancing. It used to be a festival.
Even they started doing the slap competitions.
Exactly. So you went from a festival to cutting some sports out, and I find it just disrespectful because it's like, why are you cutting them out? It's not like and this is where I'm trying to allude to. They said they say the week of the Arnold brings in the Columbus alone $30 million for that weekend that Arnold does his thing. 30 million. And maybe numbers are lower now because they cut so much shit out. But Arnold, the city alone of Columbus with the hotels and everything was bringing $30 million into that city for that weekend festival. So if they're bringing in $30 million to the state of Columbus, Ohio, or the city of Columbus, Ohio, how much money do you think Arnold's making?
A good chunk of change, gotta be, because you know what? I think they used to have a lot of. One thing that hurt him was when he says "screw your freedoms." That hurt him, because especially during time when he said ever since when the virus hit, he's been one of the people who've been like about testing like that, everything about when COVID hit and everything like that, and he told people, said, "Screw your freedoms." That's what turned him off a lot. A lot of people, when he said that, well, he should have rewarded Brady. He said, like, this is a situation where we're going bad. Something's happening. we need to prioritize what's more important. You go into this place without a mask or saving the life of other people around you. He should, but Arnold, just happened to get, I know you probably ran into him a few times. You met him, and then it's said again, not Jody just not only just kicked out with his bodybuilding, he did that like almost, 11, 10 years ago, kicked out with his physique, figure in 212. I'm like saying, okay, and you just have only thing left is fitness, the TNA division that's bikini and wellness, and yes, you're gonna have men's bodybuilding because the fact is because hey, he supports men's bodybuilding, but it's just crazy how you would think like a lot of vendors, like my friend told me, he go there, he used to leave that thing with a like a book bag full of swag. Last time we see he only got maybe a little bit of weight powder, some pills, and a T-shirt. I mean, it's crazy, right? Here we got a man, Raheem Hamilton. Shout out to Raheem. He says, "Great show, George. Appreciate Raheem. Thank you." And it's just it goes back to the money thing as always. It goes back to the cost. If you can put up like $300,000, which is almost $1,000 less what they get for the Olympia, come on, you could. That's enough money that you can break it down among the other. That's like think about it. That's like I think it was like maybe about a couple $100,000 before for the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic title. So you're telling me you can cancel all these shows and put the rest of the bank into that division instead of just saying, I understand it's about what people want to come see. I understand about what's popular, all of the stuff, but still.
But how do we know? But how do we really know, George? How do we really know what's popular and what's not popular? Like I said, this is a prime example of the Chicago Pro. 1 year I did it. Rolly Winkler won it. I think I was fifth. And it was simply this. By the time our asses got on stage, there was nobody in the audience. But the people who are there to watch me and but there may be, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say this, George, maybe 40, and I'm maybe 40, maybe a little more people in the audience, because everybody came to watch figure, men's physique, all that. And mind you, they have them on different days because, the Wings Train do 2 different days or whatever. But by the time we got on stage, there was nobody, George, nobody in the audience. So when men say, not let's just say Olympia, let's just say if it's Olympia or the Arnold for a prime example, because that's where the men's biggest platforms are, those 2 shows, as far as money making is concerned. So when guys sit there and say, and I can say it because I'm an IFBB pro, and sit there and say, well, when you become more of a draw as we are, then maybe you'll make the money. How do you know? Because unless you do like, hey, you're coming in for this segment, which I've seen Tampa do, where like it's like the amateur show and a pro show are 2 different things. So you got to buy 2 different tickets. You can't buy 1 ticket. You got to buy a ticket for the pro show and amateur show. But at the exact same time, it all blends together. So how do you know who is more popular? How do you know? For one, it depends on who the competitors are that are competing, right? And like even Shane, the guy who was partnered, who does the Legion show, he actually had the greatest idea ever. If you're going to buy a ticket or you're going to buy a ticket online, and like say for instance, every athlete has a code, and you can put in a code of what athlete you're going to see, then that athlete would get a kickback for however many tickets people purchase to see you come compete. Is that a great idea?
Yeah. What does it? It helps. They used to give you tickets for people that want to come see you, like athletes to get tickets.
Now you used to get 2.
Used to get 2 because that was me bring somebody, and that's still a form of revenue, and also these people come to the show. We got here. Raheem says this. He says, "Sports all around is in decline, not just bodybuilding." Well, somewhat, but some sports are still doing well because the fact is,
wait, what? Do you know what the Shields brand is here? They're in the billions. The NFL is making more money. You know why they're making more money, George? You know what? Y'all want to know why? I'm going to tell you why right now. The reason why is because the NFL got smart. They did one thing. They started flag football because with this concussion thing, the CTE thing, that is driving the current world crazy because nobody wants their kid to play football because of concussions. So the NFL is like, and I watched this because I coach youth football. I watched the numbers decline, but guess what? Numbers went up. Flag football, right? Flag football went up because guess what? You ain't hit nobody and heads aren't being banged. You're just snatching the flag off a kid's hip. Now, this is what the NFL did to make it even better. They brought flag football, but they also brought girls into flag football. So not only boys, but now if you watch the Pro Bowl in Vegas this year, the girls had a game at the Raiders venue playing in different age groups too. You got the 9 and 10, 11, 12, all the way to I think 17 years old girls playing flag football. The NFL was smart because they said, let's implement this into our program with the kids. You know, we do the NFL 360 play and all this other shit. The NFL's not stupid. The NFL is saying, Roger Goodell and the NFL and the owner sitting there and says, how can we make more money? Why you guys think all these stadiums are getting built? It's because the brand is getting bigger. So it ain't no, you know, in the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, sorry who just made that comment, is not declining. Bullshit. They're not in the business of declining. They're in the business of making money. And these new basketball arenas, these new football arenas, and all this money, that's why these guys are getting $200, $380 million. Think about basketball. You got players making $284, $360 million max contracts out. You think they're getting paid all that money because the sport is declining?
Well, he says this: flag football sucks. They did that at the Pro Bowl. That's true. He just said it. He says, you know, why is the NFL making money? Well, it's like it's one of the biggest sports right now. They don't have a cap. I don't think they have a cap. Also, he says this. He says, you all need a Vince McMahon type of promoter to push you all sports. Well, right now, Vince is under investigation by the FBI. So that's not a good example about, the promoter.
Hey, but here's the thing. You know who is a good promoter and who wanted to get into the sport and got pushed out by Jake from rumor has it? Was The Rock. The Rock
Yeah, you told me that.
The Rock now he has the XFL, which he got great financial backers on that. It's on TV with ESPN, which is, and here's the thing. They did it smart wise because now it becomes now they have an indoor football league that I just watched the championship for last week in Vegas, which the NFL or the indoor football league and the XFL now are like sister brother program. When they used to have arena football, used to do the same thing. The Rock is, and we just now seen Rock is the highest paid actor in Hollywood. So when you say Vince McMahon, you need to say The Rock, because The Rock, Kevin Hart, a lot of these guys have gone into so many different business ventures with each other that The Rock at one point in time was like, I want to do this where the audience and the fans are into the audience are into it. So you're not just, the judges are not just voting. Like, remember a couple years ago, they did the People's Choice. They got that damn People's Choice belt now for the guys. It's like, that was voted on by the fans who are watching the show, live streaming, this, that, and the other, right? Why can't you bring in a implementation like, they have like America's Got Talent, and people can call in and cast their votes for who they like, right? Or America's Got Talent or The Voice, where people call in to say who they like. Not just who the judges like, but who they like. And you can do that with bodybuilding. You can do that, you can do that with bodybuilding because it is an individual sport. You can't do that with football. You can't do that with basketball. You can't do that with baseball because they're team sports. But this is something you can do it in. And Rock wanted to bring something like that. But you bring something like that to the sport, man, let me tell you. The sport, it's going to open up a lot of doors and a lot of eyes for a lot of people, because it's like Steve says, and Steve said this. He said, well, when you're there in person, it's a lot different than looking at it on TV. I go, well, I've been there in person, and I'm still scratching my head like, how they not win? And then 2 years later, George, I've said this a long time ago, 2 years ago, and then he wins. And Hade's sitting there like, what else do I need to do? Everybody else is sitting there like, what? How did he not win? How did Ronnie win? But we understand that part of this is a popularity contest in this sport. It's not about the athletes anymore. It's a popularity contest. Which guy's social media is the biggest? This, that, and the other. It's not just about the way they look on stage anymore, and that's a fact.
Yeah. Well,
That's weird.
he says they might need like a Dana White as well. I call him Dana Wife beater. Also, he says,
but he's right. You know why? Dana White, he listens to the fans. Dana White listens to the fans. And here's the thing, Dana White, the one thing he's like, I whip my wife's ass. My bad. I'll suspend myself. No, I'm the boss. He said he would suspend himself. I don't believe in putting my hands on women whatsoever. But it's one of those things where he listens to the fans. That's why the UFC, and George, I know you're a big fan of it. I don't watch it that much. But think about it, George, and correct me if I'm wrong. The fans have a big say in why the UFC is the way it is, right? Mm-hmm. Because Dana White plays to the fan. He doesn't play to the fighter. He plays to the fan because he knows the fan is what paying his bills and these athletes' bills. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah, because I have a debate with him about how he's bringing 145, the big win, but he said like because the most fan base of white males between 18 to 40, they don't want to see women who are much bigger. That's why he has only the divisions right now. It's like he want women too big or too small. That's why there's 135, there's 125, and there's strawweight. They could bring in an adder, which are smaller women, but he said the women are too small. They don't want to believe that women can fight, and the women in 145 are too big. So it's just they think they can't get attractive women. My man Raheem, he got some more here. You got to say, he says, He says, Keith, I made the comment. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Hey, playing in the NFL for 8 years and understand how the brand works, Raheem, is the reason why I'm trying to explain this to you, which when I got into pro bodybuilding, if I would have knew the logistics of the politics, because, I'm an Olympic athlete, world championship in track and field, Super Bowl champion as well. Even though one's an individual sport and one's a team sport, if I run across the goddamn finish line, I'm the winner. If we score the most points on the board, we're the winner. Bodybuilding is such a subjective sport, and I didn't know that getting into it. And, and I still love the sport. But if somebody asked me if I had to do it all over again, would I be a pro bodybuilder? No, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't. I'm being honest. I wouldn't, because I am not a lazy person, and I don't like the way my fate is dictated by people who are not on my level, if that makes sense. You look in the audience of these judges, no offense and all, and I'm like, how the fuck are you sitting here judging me, when you ain't never been here? I tell my brother Stan will tell you this all the time. When I train athletes, I say, get to my level. I said, hold on, let me push the code on my safe. Here, you see these Super Bowl rings, you see these Olympic medals, you see these world championships, you see all these titles and trophies you see in my house. I put in work to get this shit. So until you get there, shut the fuck up and listen to what I say. Bottom line, at the end of the day, I tell people. That's the problem with this sport, is that you got a bunch of people. Think about it, George. You got a bunch of people, no disrespect to the judges, because everybody is good at something, but what made, and I'm a judge, but I'm also a competitor. So I'm going to give you my honest opinion on what I think and what I know, and some people like it and some people don't like it. It is what it is at the end of the day. But this is a sport that dictates a lot of people's fate and crushes a lot of people. And that's why I tell people, when you get into this sport, you better be a mentally strong ass person, because you're talking to a 4-time runner-up at USA's and Nationals before I turned pro. So you better be and I've had my mental breakdowns, don't get me wrong, and saying, why am I doing this? But I did it and chased after that pro card because I've never failed in anything I've done. When you played professional football, you ran professional track for Nike, now you're a pro bodybuilder. And before I even turned pro as an amateur, I'm like, why is this so hard? I was sitting here, and the answer I kept getting, well, it's like comparing apples to oranges, Keith. And I'm sitting there stretching my hand like, what the fuck does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Well, that's just crazy. Man, he says, I heard that The Rock was going to push bodybuilders. So sad that he pushed them out. That's true. Also, he says, he says that Keith, you're right. But remember, The Rock learned the business from Vince McMahon. He says,
Absolutely.
yeah. It says, I wish I could get on with you all. Yeah, we appreciate you. Whatever next time, just let me know.
That'd be
Um,
great.
yeah, because if you, I know he might be working or he might be off, or I think he works out sometimes. But there is the link in the comment section of the YouTube video. You can click it and come on. But we're not gonna be here too much longer because it's a long day. This man's busy,
Yeah.
and
My
I gotta
kids,
eat.
where you at? You see the sign behind me, main event? My kid's like, where you at? I'm like,
Yeah, I get it. Also, FYI, George, Vince beat the feds before. This is in his first radio show where sometimes you can also you fought the law, but sometimes the law will win. And also, he asked you, says Super Bowl champ. What year, Keith? Did you go too far? Because I think you went with Green Bay. Were
yeah,
you with that year?
97 to 98, Denver.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool. And also, he says this because right, he's dropped like this. Bodybuilding is not a sport you stay in long term, in and out like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno. Big fan of Lou and Arnold. Arnold, the Terminator and the Incredible Hulk. And we got one more for Raheem. And then he says, let's use common knowledge. Knowledge. You have a sport like bodybuilding that back in the days was being on ESPN, all over magazines and media. What media's decline is the greed, not steroids. Yeah, because it's not. It's always about the money. I mean, I used to see bodybuilding shows. I remember when I used to work. Sometimes, one of my old jobs, I only worked 4 days a week. That's 10 hours a day. Off on Fridays. Sometimes in the middle of the afternoon, you can catch nationals. You can catch the Orange the Classic. You can catch the bodybuilding shows on ESPN. You just remember you catch it on network television.
But remember, but Arnold, remember, enthralled himself in it. He used to be the one that's like, how they do the play-by-play guy, Chris Camille and Isabel. Arnold used to do his own broadcasting. Remember, at Arnold, he used to be the guy that's in the booth talking about the girls and the guys. That's why I found it so hypocritical how the women would be there and he'd be like, oh, they're so beautiful, and nor did the women look like they do now. They look like the Linda Murray types, which is that like the Andrea Shaw types, and beautiful. So it just went way extreme, way fast. And the only way, and me and George, we've talked about this countless times, is that the sport has to control the sport. And when you don't do that, the NFL, the NBA, again, they have rules, they have regulations, this, that, and other. You got rid of women's bodybuilding because it was too hard and too masculine and people didn't want to see it. You brought it back, say you're going to change it, but all you did is went back to where you started again. What got rid of it in the first place? So I'm like, regulate it. I just don't understand. I would love to sit in a room with Jim Mannion. I would love to sit in a room with Steve Weinberger. I would love to sit in a room with Sandy and Tyler and all these guys and Jake and be like, being a pro athlete, I'm just really confused with what's going on. I'm just really confused of why you guys, like you said, I call them the power to be, why you guys can't regulate this sport and just create a guideline for these girls to understand. And John Smith said it best. John said, these girls think getting bigger and harder is going to win them shows. You're never going to beat Andrea that way. That's what he said.
Yeah, because like one thing I like this how when me and Daphne Keith were talking about, they talked about how they had the guidelines and rules on the NPC news on NPC website. You can see it, but they're not just and physique was supposed to take the place of women's bodybuilding. But the fact is, it's if you look at the Emily Schuberts who's competing, you look at Natalia, you look at Sarah Vilgus, you look at Ann Moon, you look at Barbara Majan. Some of those women, they say they wouldn't want to go up, but where your body, like I said, with Ashley Jones who competed last year, she's taking a year off. She's not competing this year. She says she wants to grow because at the point I think she's growing, developing, and she feels like you can't. I know as long as somebody says as long as I place well, I'm going to stay where I am. That's good. But then when you start, especially if you're like some of these young competitors who are growing, developing, like Michaela like Chelsea and a couple of others who are still like, in their, some of the ones are in their early 20s, some of the ones in their early 30s, they're developing and still growing. But it's, you try to keep, you just can't pin yourself whole in a division where it's supposed to be a certain look, but then that look started to melt into like the old division and just started becoming whole. A man here, right, Raheem says, yeah. So y'all used to have shows at the Beck Theater in NYC, and also
Night of
yeah,
Champions.
yeah, and also the Russian woman who won the New York Pro is going to be the Andrea because she came in soft. She's not going to be Andrea because one thing about Natalia, she's too top heavy. That takes away. You don't have that even flow physique. Her lines. She has good lines. She has good size, but she just her proportions kind of just takes away from if you have more disc, where you look at Isabel now.
Yeah. Thought we weren't say her name no more.
I don't know who knows. I tell like, I don't know. Isabel made me think of a Rocky movie. Like
But again, like he's saying, it's like what we all have to realize. You have the feels, the feels and the hotties and these guys who Andrea Shaw is saving up all her juice for her payday. She ain't worried about this $2,000, $3,000, $1,000 shit. She ain't got to worry about it because if she spend her money wisely, which you can tell that she's not this over, she got cars. She don't got to buy a car. She's made almost $500,000 in prize money in the last 3 years. She got great sponsors. But again, the reason why Andrea has sponsors, and I'm not speaking on her behalf, but if I'm looking at Andrea, I'm like, she's feminine, she's eloquent, she's beautiful, she is everything that I would want the rest of the girls to look like in some regards. Everybody's different. We get that. But I would want every girl to sit there and says, and Steve and Tyler and Jim and Sandy, who speak so highly of this girl, says, you want to chase something, chase that look right there. You want to be something, you want to beat the champion, chase that. It's different from men's bodybuilding because our physical features change, but not like women's change. And when you look at and when you look at Linda, I look at Linda and I look at Andrea and I said, those are two looks that when people will look at as spectators and be like, man, it's sexy, it's beautiful to look at, it's not too masculine. There's a whole bunch of entities that goes with those two women. You know what I'm saying? For it to be appealing to other people besides us who are fans of the industry, right? If you got girls saying, well, and it's just like you, George, you did it, you had it perfect, George, when you put up the pictures last week of the two physique girls and the two bodybuilding chicks, and we really couldn't tell the difference. That's because of the guidelines. She just said.
She's just beautiful. She makes a simp out of me. She seriously does.
Oh my goodness.
She posted this video. She did live when she was going shopping.
I'm like, oh Lord, I'm like, man. Like Alina Popa was the same way. Alina, when she competed, was the same way. Alina was absolutely gorgeous, and she still is gorgeous. I keep talking like in the past. Alina is gorgeous. Is just a gorgeous woman, just beautiful. Like my wife is like they call her the mini me of Alina Popa. So I'm like, you just don't have the sexy accent like Alina. Lena gets me with that accent every time. Lena gets me with that accent.
Hey, big bro. I know. I met the lady in person. She is that Eastern Europe say, hello there. I am Alina Popa. I said, oh wow. Oh wow. I just did an interview with a lady who's a Russian.
George is like, huh? What? What'd you say?
What? Wait a minute. I gotta. Excuse me. I don't want to hug you, Miss Pope. I got a pop tent in my pants. I gotta go.
Daddy, are you just happy to see me?
Yeah, George, just shoot your shot, man. Since you're so in love with, well, I I would love to, but I know what people told me she has a dude, and I wouldn't want to be. Someone telling me somebody she has a dude. I don't know.
I've never seen her with anybody, so that's news. That's news to me.
That's just like I said. It's just scuttlebutt what I'm hearing. But woman that pretty, I wouldn't be surprised. Because she has to like. Remember back in the day, there was the original Tarzan. He was married.
Yeah.
But because he was such a sex symbol, he had to divorce his wife because the studios needed him to be like obtainable. But the story was that also he still had his wife was still living with him. They just were divorced on paper, but they were just living it together because he still loved his wife.
I just want to be the oil guy. I just want to be the be the guy. You need some help with spreading out the oil.
You wanna. One thing I hear too much about the thing is that back there is kind of, do not go back there.
No.
Woo. Yeah, I hear that. But also he says you don't cater to the fans. You get the people who are not fans, and that's just also. He says this. He says, George, just okay. I already said that earlier. I said he says this. George, be like Positive K. Say, what's your name and got do with me? What's your man got to do with me? Shout out to Positive K. Yeah. But still, sometimes I'm the person. I don't want to push up on anybody's woman. That's just me. I'm a Southern gentleman. I believe that lady should be attainable and should be free. I don't want to be stepping on no man's other shoe because I don't want to be no problem. But Big Bra, like I said, it's a great conversation with you. But folks, this is the big question is, I think the show's coming up. I think September. The European Championships. Possible, like I said, possible names. I don't know how many American competitors are going to go over there because, like I said, it's going to be costing that's like a lot of money you have to spend. I mean, $4,000 or $5,000 in your pocket, travel expenses like that. I think it's going to be. I don't want it to be too much of a small show compared to Portugal, where there's only 2 competitors. I think one thing is some physique competitors should step up. And I see some physique competitors that should go over women's body. I know I do well physique, but then you're not winning. If you're still like 3rd or 4th or 5th, and you could probably jump over here and probably win your Olympic qualification. You just got to come in the right condition. The judges go. I've seen physique girls who just switch physique after barely a year or maybe.
Maya. Remember Maya did Louisiana, was dead last in Louisiana, came to Tampa and whooped everybody's ass.
No, New York. New York.
I always say Tampa because they did the New York Pro in Tampa that year because it was a COVID year, so they did the New York Pro in Tampa. But remember, she was dead last in Louisiana, came to the New York Pro in Tampa and won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that just is. Yeah, I would say this. I tell this any competitor, especially these amateurs out there who I'm just going to do this division. Well, it's like fishing. Always throw out your net and see where you do. I know it costs a lot for your competitors to compete if you do both shows, but I was talking to one girl. She could get a pro card in bodybuilding, but she said she did not have enough size. Well, compete as a lightweight, middleweight. You'll probably get your pro card faster. I've seen some women who, they could have done that. They had that Mr. International show. Some women did that show in Pittsburgh, the Teen Collegiate show. They could have came. I know the cost of travel, but if you feel like you opportunity to get your pro card, you just need enough competitors, and boom, you could get it. Also, we're going to end off with this is the last comment from me. Raheem. He says, Dwayne could get the TV deals where all the bodybuilders that attend to the show could not pay. That's good. Also, he says that's what's sad that Dwayne Johnson could have gotten the TV deals for bodybuilders, but the powers that be just want money. And shout out to because his ex-wife was competing as a bodybuilder, and she was a pro for a minute. She did a couple of shows and she quit after that. But anyway, big bro, you guys spend time with the family, with the kids.
All right, bro. I'll holler at you.
I appreciate it. We'll get you next time. We talk with you again. Have a nice conversation. Say hello to your pretty wife.
I will.
And thank you again.
She just sent me a message. Are you going to join us? I'm like, yes, I'm wrapping up now, dear.
Yeah, you're wrapping it now. Next time we do it when you're not too busy. Try to do the family thing.
All right. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. See you later. Yeah. We got man just come through here. My man Lawrence Perkins. You come in late, brother. About to head out. He says, good afternoon, George. Everyone. Good night to you, Lawrence. Appreciate it. So, folks, as our prediction is, We don't know who is going to show. I do have one name that's I think is certain, that is Chelsea Dion is going to do a show in Spain. Virginia Sanchez, if she doesn't get a qualification for the Olympia at the show in Romania, the Master Show, she's possibly another one. Jay Fuchs is possibly one. I think Tiana Flex. I've been following her. Let me see. I'll pull up in a bit. She looks like she might be, because she competed last year, and I think she took second, I believe, if I remember. And she looks pretty impressive. She might do this show. Because she's Tia Flex. She was Ambassador last year. She's from South Africa. That's another name I should have dropped. And she posted some stuff. Tiana Flex right here. Tiana could probably do the show. She's done it before. I think she was second or third last year. And since there's so few shows opportunities, she might do the show in. She only did the show in Spain, but she also might do the Romanian Muscle Fest, because that'll be qualification for next year. Person or woman. I mean, I reached out for an interview down the road. I made a comment. Pec City. She has great pecs. She has a great look to her. Good lines. I think she's friends with Blessing Christopher. So, if Tiana, look like she's not too far. I mean, she might do the show in Spain, because the show is only like another 3 weeks. She brings in conditioning. She has a good amount of size. Look at that. Wow. I mean, I think Tiana Flex could possibly do well this show. But, it's all about timing and everything else like this. But folks, I do appreciate your time. If you are someone out there who wants to support these ladies, who say, okay, like especially when we just did the Tampa, and if you got enough time, so you can squeeze in maybe a couple weeks. Tell them, like, say, if you have deep pockets, it's a man from a man. He says Spain is another great event. Yes, and that is, as I said again, that is the last qualification for women's bodybuilding. That's not an invite on the schedule. So I would say, if you are someone out there who says, okay, if you have deep pockets, and you tell a female body, say, hey, you know what? I want to do this for you. I want to put you on a plane to Spain, set you up someplace for the next 2 or 3 weeks, so you can train. We make sure you pay for your room, your board, your food, anything you need. We got you. I know those guys maybe not existent, but if you're out there and you like to help these ladies out, they can use the help. They can use support. This is sport. It's a very tough sport. It's very financially draining sport. But folks, I like to thank my man Big Keith Williams for coming through. I thank my man Raheem Hamilton, my man KL the Wanderer, the Female Bobbin Channel, Vinny, also Lawrence Perkins are coming through. If you missed the whole live stream, you can go to my channel, watch it later, give your thoughts, with your opinion, who you think is going to compete this show. Like I said, there's some names I dropped that may not, some might do. There's a good amount of women overseas that might do the show. And also, the Romanian Muscle Fest is going to be the week after the Olympia. So some women who missed the opportunity to do the Olympia, and they feel like, if they're, especially if they just did the Olympia and say, I'm still in condition, I don't know if they would try it or not. They can, take a jet and fly out to Romania maybe a couple of days after or before, whichever. But, let's support these ladies. Let's support all these competitors. And, just to represent themselves in this sport of bodybuilding. It's a tough sport. And I have respect for these ladies that do this. So anyway, like I said, I thank all people who came through. I thank my big brother coming through. Appreciate your support. Watch, comment, subscribe. Don't watch, don't comment, subscribe. I don't care. I do this because the fact is, it's something I like to talk about. It's a subject I like to give attention to. And I appreciate the people do, and the people that don't, well, we don't care. And this man away to Joey Page, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk. Don't like, subscribe. I'm out. Have a great rest of the week. And we'll see you next week.